every deadliest allergic reactions your body can have explained. Caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant, a chemical that speeds up your brain and nervous system. Found in coffee, tea, soda, and energy drinks, billions of people reach for it every single morning. For most, the day does not truly begin until that first sip hits. Once consumed, caffeine travels to your brain and blocks adenosine, the chemical that signals tiredness. It does not give you energy. It hides exhaustion and lets your neurons fire faster. Within 20 to 30 minutes, you feel sharper, more focused, more alive. But as your body breaks it down, adenosine floods back. Clarity fades and irritability creeps in. Over time, your brain stops producing natural alertness on its own. Quits suddenly and headaches, fatigue, and fog arrive fast. We laugh about needing coffee to function, but that is just withdrawal wearing a familiar face. Nicotine. Nicotine is a stimulant found in tobacco and vapes, the chemical that hooks people, not the smoke itself. Once inhaled, it reaches the brain within seconds, triggering a surge of dopamine. That first hit feels clean and controlled. Your heart rate rises slightly, thoughts sharpen, and stress quietly dissolves. For a few minutes, everything feels manageable. But nicotine burns out fast. As dopamine fades, calm flips into tension and restlessness. That discomfort was created by the last puff. The next one simply resets it. Each cigarette does not relax you. It just silences the craving the previous one started. Over time, your brain rewires itself around nicotine. Without it, everyday life feels flat and colorless. It damages your lungs, blood vessels, and heart. But the deeper damage is psychological. It convinces you that peace only exists between cravings and that you cannot cope without it. Alcohol. Alcohol is a depressant that slows your brain and nervous system. People drink it at parties, dinners, celebrations, and funerals. To loosen up, to forget, or simply to belong. Once in your bloodstream, it disrupts how your brain communicates with itself. At first, that feels like a gift. Warmth spreads, thoughts quiet, and social anxiety melts away. You feel open, confident, and easy with the world. Then the peak arrives. Judgment softens, emotions rise, and coordination slips while your brain remains convinced everything is fine. That gap between how sharp you feel and how sharp you actually are is where most bad decisions live. Eventually, the come-down hits. Warmth turns heavy and energy drains. The more regularly you drink, the more your brain needs alcohol just to feel normal. Over time, it damages your liver, weakens your heart, and chips away at self-control. Cannabis. Cannabis is a psychoactive drug made from the marijuana plant. Smoked, vaped, or eaten as an edible, its main active chemical THC connects to your brain's endocannabinoid system, the network regulating mood, memory, and perception. When THC enters your bloodstream, time slows, senses sharpen, and everything feels warmer and funnier. At its peak, cannabis can deepen creativity and calm, or tip into confusion and paranoia depending on dose and headspace. As it fades, thoughts slow, speech drifts, and tiredness sets in. For some, that feels gentle. For others, a fog lingers into the next morning. Cannabis is mildly addictive, mostly psychologically. Regular use flattens motivation, chips away at short-term memory, and in heavier doses pulls anxiety to the surface. People often call it harmless, but used consistently, it quietly reshapes how your brain learns to find rest. Cocaine. Cocaine is a powerful stimulant made from coca leaves. Snorted, smoked, or injected, however it enters the body, it reaches the brain fast. Once there, it floods the brain with dopamine by blocking reabsorption entirely. Euphoria, energy, and confidence arrive almost instantly. Your heart pounds, pupils widen, and every thought feels sharp and electric. At the peak, you feel completely untouchable. But the brain burns through its fuel quickly. Within minutes, dopamine crashes, anxiety climbs, and exhaustion moves in. The craving for another hit follows almost immediately, and it is rarely just one more. Cocaine is highly addictive because the brain links it to pleasure and control with frightening speed. Each use chips away at your ability to feel good naturally. Over time, it damages the heart, constricts blood vessels, and rewires your chemistry so thoroughly that ordinary joy starts feeling permanently out of reach. MDMA, better known as ecstasy or Molly, is a synthetic stimulant and hallucinogen. Usually swallowed as a pill, it floods the brain with serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin simultaneously. The trio responsible for happiness, reward, and human connection. As it kicks in, warmth spreads through the body. Music sounds richer, lights shimmer, and touch feels electric. You feel deeply connected to everyone around you. The brain runs on maximum empathy. At the peak, the world feels perfect. You dance for hours, and everything carries unexpected meaning. But MDMA burns through serotonin at an unsustainable rate. Within hours, the come down arrives. Emotion drains out, replaced by emptiness and exhaustion. Used too frequently, MDMA damages neurons responsible for releasing serotonin, making natural happiness harder to access. Physically, it can overheat the body and cause dangerous dehydration. The connection feels profound in the moment, but the brain pays long after the night ends. ELSD. ELSD is a hallucinogen that rewires how your brain processes reality. Taken on tiny papers placed on the tongue, the dose is microscopic, measured in millionths of a gram. Once absorbed, it binds to serotonin receptors deep in the brain, shaping perception and mood. Patterns begin moving. Colors shift. Reality does not shatter, it just starts breathing. At the peak, lasting several hours, your sense of self loosens completely. You might feel connected to everything, euphoric, terrified, or all of it at once. Emotions become physical. The boundary between thoughts and sensations dissolves entirely. The come down is slow, like returning from somewhere far away. Some describe it as a reset. Others feel emotionally raw for days. Loosed carries no physical addiction, but it is deeply unpredictable. The same dose can feel like clarity or chaos depending entirely on mindset and surroundings. Ketamine. Ketamine is a dissociative anesthetic originally developed for surgery. In small, controlled doses, doctors use it today to treat severe depression. Recreationally, people seek its out-of-body effects. Snorted or injected, it blocks glutamate, the messenger your brain relies on to process sensory input and maintain awareness. Within minutes, the world turns distant and muffled. Edges soften. Sound feels far away. At the peak, perception detaches completely. Users describe floating above their own body, watching life from a distance, what many call the K-hole. Time loses all structure. Some find it peaceful. Others find it deeply unsettling. As awareness slowly returns, thoughts move as if underwater before full clarity comes back. Tolerance builds quickly with repeated use. Heavy use leads to memory problems, bladder damage, and emotional numbness that does not always fully fade. Opioids. Opioids are painkillers derived from the opium poppy or produced synthetically, appearing medically as morphine or oxycodone, and on the street as heroin or fentanyl. However they enter the body, they attach to opioid receptors, blocking pain and releasing deep euphoria. The onset brings warmth, comfort, and relief unlike anything else. Stress dissolves. Pain disappears. Your body feels heavy in the most welcome way, like sinking into something permanently safe. At the peak, everything slows. Breathing becomes shallow, and thoughts drift. But each time someone chases that feeling, it gets shorter and harder to reach. The come down is brutal. Anxiety, muscle pain, nausea, sweating, and insomnia arrive together. Withdrawal does not just create craving, it makes ordinary life unbearable without the drug. The warmth opioids offer at the start is quietly borrowed from everything else in your life. Methamphetamine. Methamphetamine floods the brain with dopamine and adrenaline simultaneously. Smoked, swallowed, snorted, or injected, The effect arrives like a lightning bolt. Energy explodes within seconds. Your heart races, senses sharpen, and every thought accelerates past normal speed. Confidence tips quickly into invincibility. You might talk for hours, hyperfocus on a single task, or chase a goal that suddenly feels like absolute destiny. But the brain is not generating that energy. It burns through its entire dopamine reserve at once, borrowing intensity from every hour that follows. The come down flips euphoria into depression and paranoia that can stretch across several days. Meth gradually destroys the brain's natural ability to produce pleasure independently, leading to weight loss, insomnia, hallucinations, and lasting memory damage. Every single bit of that energy is stolen directly from your future self. Psilocybin. Psilocybin is a hallucinogen found in certain fungi, commonly known as magic mushrooms. Eaten raw, brewed as tea, or taken in capsules, it converts in the body to psilocin, binding to serotonin receptors throughout the brain. The onset begins within 30 minutes. Senses sharpen, patterns shimmer, and reality turns slightly elastic. Laughter arrives easily. Music deepens. You grow aware of your breath, your body, and the texture of everything around you. At the peak, colors pulse, time stretches, and profound connection emerges. Some find clarity. Others feel overwhelmed. It pulls back the curtain on whatever is already sitting inside your mind. The come down is gradual and often gentle, leaving many feeling emotionally open. For some, unease lingers for days. Psilocybin carries no physical addiction, but in the wrong setting it can trigger panic or psychosis. Mushrooms do not create new experiences, they simply amplify what is already there. Benzodiazepines. Benzodiazepines, commonly called benzos, are sedatives prescribed for anxiety, panic attacks, and insomnia. They enhance GABA, a brain chemical that slows neural activity and produces calm. After taking one, muscles loosen, racing thoughts quiet, and the sharp edges of stress soften. Your body settles and whatever felt overwhelming minutes ago becomes manageable. At the peak, worry fades entirely, and sleep arrives without resistance. For people with chronic anxiety, that can feel like the first real peace in years. With regular use, the brain gradually forgets how to generate calm independently. Tolerance builds quickly, and more is needed just to reach baseline. Stopping suddenly can trigger severe anxiety, tremors, and in serious cases, seizures. They quiet the mind effectively, but silence becomes something the brain starts depending on. The danger was never the calm they created. It was how convincingly they made you believe you could not find it yourself.